come well to the podcast, and listen, this is a fucking amazing track. I forgot how good it was, because I haven't heard this in a while. It only really came to mind recently when I was watching Games Done Quick, and they usually have these sort of game soundtracks on there, but covers of them, like OC Remix and stuff, and Family Jewels have heard on there. And there are a lot of interesting covers, but this one actually wasn't from there. But it did remind me of something, because going down the rabbit hole, Mega Man was a game that I'm not too familiar with. I've definitely never played, and I think I've listened to the soundtracks in 2018, but that came with some interesting discoveries, such as these custom soundtracks, where I think they're posed as an alternative, if I'm not mistaken. But I came across some interesting tracks, and it was mainly thanks to YouTube and its royalty-free music. Because believe it or not, I wouldn't have discovered a lot of this if it weren't for that royalty-free music where I first heard Demetori's cover of the Mega Man track that they did, the Mega Man 3 Total theme, which is amazing. But there was also other tracks on the same channel, and these were from various different cover artists, like just from all around the world. And I found some great tracks, and there's like too many to list. I would strongly recommend that channel. I wish I could remember what it's called, but that was amazing for like discovering music. And yeah, but I ended up listening to the Mega Man soundtracks after that, because I didn't realise they were from Mega Man at first. I thought they were royalty-free music, nice. Then you find out in the description, I think it is, oh, it's from Mega Man. Okay, I'm going to listen to Mega Man now because it sounds amazing. I was pleasantly surprised. You know, the original soundtracks for the Mega Man games, the non-Zero X games, very good. There's not much to say about it, and the covers are even better. But yeah, I really like my cover of Dr. Wily's Castle from Mega Man 2. I think it's honestly peak. I don't think I've made something quite like that since. Yeah, it's so good, and weirdly enough, the cover I'm working on at the moment is probably the closest to that I've ever beaten. The closest I've ever gotten to beating it in terms of how much I like it and how much effort put into it, I think, as well. Yeah, it's easy to do with the knowledge I have now, and honestly this cover is fucking amazing that I've made. But anyway, talking about this track though, I ended up finding it out after listening to Mega Man Zero, and I found out there's like these different versions. There's like Mythos and what's the other one? I can't remember, but there's like different types of these soundtracks for some reason, and they seem to be covers to me, but I could be wrong. But this is probably one of the best songs I've heard from it, and there's obviously great ones on there. I'm thinking of another one. It's not Falling Down, that's actually a more complicated one. But there's one I really like that has an amazing guitar solo on it as well. I actually just need to find that at the moment because I'll jot it out here. You know what, I'll do two tracks at once. So let's start with the first one, Esperanto Mythos version. Because I listened to the other one back, and that's why I'm going to put that again. It's the second one. Esperanto is an amazing track in itself in terms of composure, whatever. The composition, that's what it is. And it's just so emotional and yet also epic at times as well. I've not really heard a track like it in a while, and it's one of the few songs I can listen to without sort of feeling a bit sort of sad, because it sort of makes you feel sad. That's one of the weird things, it has these hopeful elements and that sort of draws you in. But the interesting thing with the Mythos version is it's basically got these metal lead guitars in it. Like, you could barely hear the rhythm guitar, and I'd say it's sort of metal, but not entirely. It's like, I guess, hard rock maybe. But there's so many interesting parts to this song. Like, the entire melody is just great. Like, composition, as I said, is just almost perfect, literally. The way it moves around and all that, but with the guitars, I hear these like pre-bends, which you rarely hear in music anyway. You rarely hear that now, and the fact it's in this track is like, wow. And it works so well. It adds so much fucking depth to it, and it's just so insanely good. And that's why I ended up transcribing it essentially, because it's literally such a fucking good song. And in fact, I'm going to write it down. I want to play this at some point. I'll play Mythos Mega Man. There you go. I'll play on Rocksmith at some point, because I have the other songs there on there as well. Oh my god, it's such a fun track though. Severely underrated as well, I might add, because well, many people probably haven't heard the Mega Man Zero tracks, and the X tracks are actually quite badass on the ones I've heard anyway. But Zero is quite a lot more emotional, and the story I think is as well, because I think it's important to talk about this within the context of the story. From what I can remember, Zero's been through a lot more than Mega Man has, and as a result, they sort of go through different scenarios, and well, the hardships that Zero goes through are pretty insane, I think. I'm pretty sure someone's died, I'm pretty sure he dies in the end. Like, I could be wrong. But he's also a pretty badass character, because he fights with a sword, and he has this really awesome sprite in the games, which I've always liked. It's like these trail sprites or echoes, I don't know what you call them actually. But yeah, that's like the bare minimum of lore I know though, so that's unfortunate. Yeah, I just remember the stories being quite emotional, because they're quite story driven actually compared to the original Mega Man games. And even X. I think Mega Man Zero is actually like story driven, which is different for sure. Well, the others are, but this one seems to be more so. Anyway, back to the song though. Plenty of interesting melodies in the leads and stuff, and the way it goes back and forth between the electronic parts, and it keeps a rhythm guitar in it as well. But it gets really interesting in the guitar solo, because it's just like, it's so orgasmic. I was listening to it and I fucking came. Literally. It's just such good guitar solos. I'm listening to it again. It just starts so well with those double bends, and then some really great fucking quips, I could call them. Or swings, maybe. It's a better one. There's such a good build up as well. And more bends. It's just, oh my god. Mercedes Benz. What? Anyway. And then the outro is pretty good. It sort of fades out with this like background melody that was in it. But yeah, such a good track. Oh my god. They don't make them like this anymore. It kind of sucks. It sounds so old as well, that's the thing. I would have said this was like 2000s. If I look it up in a sec, I've done this. When did this come out? I'm very curious, because it honestly feels older than it actually sounds. It genuinely sounds like it was written in the 90s or something. Well, Mega Man Zero I think was made in the 90s. But this is Mega Man Zero 4, isn't it? So, not that old, I don't think. Or maybe it is the first one. Mega Man Zero Mythos version. Let's see. A compilation released of honor. What? In honor of Rock Band Zero collection. Most of the songs are remixed of songs from the other games. It was released by Inti Creates in June 10, 2010. And it says, unlike previous albums, Mythos does not contain any drama tracks. Okay. I'm not sure what the drama tracks are. Oh my god. It's just fucking amazing. Literally, some banger tracks on there, I think. I don't remember some of these, but it's probably because I found all of them. Yeah, I'm very selective with some tracks, I think. It has to draw me in with something like these melodies or guitars or something. Otherwise it's just, nah. So yeah, Esperanto is amazing. But I have to give a shout out to Straight Ahead and explain that. Straight Ahead is basically a fucking, I don't know what you call it, power ballads? No, not ballads. I call it like power metal maybe. It's probably the more accurate one, but it's probably not even right either. Industrial metal maybe, because it has this very sort of distinct feel, like it's 80s. It has this very distinct sort of melody as well, which is what Straight Ahead is about, I think. It feels like a fucking workout song. I think like Push It to the Limits by, is it Paul Newman? I can't remember. But it literally sounds like that. It sounds like No Easy Way Out by Robert Tepper. It reminds me of those. It's literally the same sort of vibe, and even like fucking Danger Zone, Kenny Loggins, and oh, there was another one, but I can't remember the name. Eye for Tiger? Survivor? Sort of. But I'd say Burning Heart is probably more similar. Yeah, it reminds me of those, and it's fucking amazing. I love a lot of this. But the solo is just so simple, but so fucking effective. It's amazing. It goes up to the 24th fret, I think, doesn't it? Maybe the 22nd, but yeah, it goes that high, and it's just so well composed. I fucking love these tracks, and Mega Man's consistently been good, from what I've heard anyway. Oh, now there's another track I remember, like in Mega Man 11, the piano tracks, like, oh my god. As much as the originals were good, the piano tracks on that were amazing too. Fuse Man Stage specifically, I remember being just so good because it sounded so like dark. It's just wow. I've never heard anything like it. Anyway, that's the intro and the Mega Man discussion. I could put so many Mega Man tracks here, I think, but you know, it get a bit boring after a while, I think. As you just know, Mega Man tracks are going to be good. So let's move on to the life hack, I guess, the life tip, whatever I have. So for these life hacks, because there's actually two, I'm going to put them together because they sort of tie into each other to an extent. But the first one is really kind of useless in a sense, but it can be useful. Basically, when I used to make my own homemade stuff, I used to, with food, to be specific, this is about food, I used to struggle to apply the seasonings, and this was only because of an issue with, well, it being powdery stuff. But trying to spread it effectively around everything, and then I realised that I could mix these seasonings together and then the item itself in the seasoning. So I'm like double mixing it, and this is actually a really effective way of seasoning that sort of thing. So for example, homemade fries or baked potatoes. Literally roll them around in some oil and then roll them around at the bottom. That's how you make a seasoning actually. It's a pretty common cooking trick, but it's pretty damn effective for other things, I think. You know, even if you're just putting it on top of something like a pizza, for example, you can probably do that. You just do like an old shaky method. Obviously make sure you're cautious with it. You don't want it to lose the seasoning or over the edge or something. That's the first tip, really. But the second one sort of can apply to this as well. So that's why I'm putting it together. I used to have a big problem with flavouring certain types of crisps and potato chips, you call them in the US. And it's because there tended to be bad brands every now and then, or bad flavours. It can be bland, and you could be missing something, but for example, it could be like salt and vinegar, and it lacks the vinegar taste. Okay, how do you do that? How do you flavour it? Unfortunately, it does mean getting the texture quite badly done, but it does work. You pour it in from the side, so it's not touching any crisps, and then you close the bag up from the top. You hold it tight, assuming it's big enough and there's enough space in it, and then you shake it like hell. And it will sort of evenly spread it over time, the same with other seasonings. Yeah, if you apply a powdery stuff, for example, like, yeah, it would probably work that way. But that's generally a good way to do it. It was obviously a noise volume warning with that, because it does get loud. But it can be useful. It's not the most useful set of tips I've ever given, to be honest, especially if you know cricket anyway. But that's helped me, so there you go. It's a freebie, I guess. If you didn't know it, now you know. So it's been a while since I did a Windows 11 update. Fuck's sake. Yeah, so I've used it for over a month now, I think. And I'm still struggling with it at times. You know, there's weird bugs and stuff. I'm discovering that I can't open the calendar, for example. Microsoft removed it, like, it's an app now. Calendar. Okay, the app just closes. Thanks, I guess. Calendar. Yeah, it just closes for no fucking reason. Unless... Oh, hang on. No, it's opening now. But this is a standalone app, it's not a fucking thing. Which is annoying. And also I can't see everything, like, it's stupid. I want to see events and stuff. I can see the weeks, which is good. Anyway. So yeah, as I said, found issues with it here and there. It's not perfect, sure. Why is it opening my email? Fuck off. What the hell? That's weird. Yeah, so I think some of the annoyances are still there. The File Explorer still has this annoying tab which I want to get rid of, but you can't for some stupid reason, like show more options. Nope, nothing there, so yeah, it's annoying. But the tab feature is really nice, I can't complain about that. It's just that little toolbar thing is such a nuisance. There's still a bug with Notepad, I think. Hold on, let me check. Right click. Hello? What the fuck is it doing? Okay, I guess there's another bug, but I can't open the drop down list for it. I can't even open the drop down list for other things. What's going on there? Okay, there we go. Works for some things, but not Notepad. Okay, so that's a bug. Okay, it appeared for a second. The Windows still has this optimization issue, it seems. It's extremely fucking frustrating. Yep, it still doesn't work. Still doesn't work. Yep, it's annoying. For some reason, everything's lagging on my system. I don't know what that's about. It's a bit concerning. But then there's a final issue that I had, which bothered me a lot. And it's actually the taskbar overflow menu. So, this thing is a pain in my ass. It still is, until recently. I'll explain the problem with it. It's a useless little menu that organises everything into this little dotted thing at the end of your taskbar. So, for people like me who have an organised taskbar from basically, we need to have these open to, okay, here's music, here's Word, here's Excel, here's like whatever. It's a nightmare for me because I have all these open sometimes and I can't navigate it easily unless I Alt Tab, which Alt Tab is good still. I haven't had much problem with it. But I prefer to look at the taskbar because I can easily locate it that way. It's a smaller interface and that's probably what's needed on Alt Tab to make it useful. So that's just a problem. But the taskbar overflow menu is useless, essentially, because it doesn't do its job. It blocks things I need to use and then something that keeps the things I don't use often to the left. It makes no sense to me. Literally, what the fuck are you thinking? It doesn't make any sense to me why they're doing this sort of shit. Like, what the fuck? Are you kidding me? It literally does not make any sense. I'm just surprised, really. I think, yeah, so I've been looking for a solution for a while. I've even looked into changing the UI, even editing the registry, but I don't want to touch the registry, to be honest, because every time I do that, something goes wrong. And it's not even because I edited something. Oftentimes the edits don't work or I can't apply it. Then I exit and then it has an issue. Okay, thanks. I guess viewing is a problem now. That's a problem with Windows 10. So, fuck that. So I'd only trust a sort of bit of software rather than that, because fuck software, at least it won't break my system if I bother to look at the registry edit. So there goes that. And yeah. And then I restarted my PC to obviously keep it up to performance and stuff, and because it had an issue, it actually had a DirectX issue for some reason. So it crashed pretty much most UIs. It crashed Edge and it crashed my game as well, so that was weird. It's fucking annoying though. I don't know why that's happening. So when I restarted it, reset the taskbar for some fucking reason. So I had to reapply settings. But then I had a thought. It's saying that I can hide labels and shorten them. So why isn't it doing that? It turns out you need specific settings to get it to work. And I'll list them off now, because this sort of fixed my issue, not perfectly, but it has fixed the problem I had, which is removing the taskbar overflow menu. So let's see, the settings I have is under taskbar behaviors. So I have show badges on taskbar apps. I'm not sure if that's related. Show flashing on taskbar apps, not sure. No, it's actually at the bottom here, my bad. All the combined buttons basically have when taskbars fall for both of them, and I always have show smaller taskbar items. I have that on always, and that solved the problem. Which is weird, because I didn't expect to have it solved. The only problem is I still have to hover over things to find them. But it's far better than the alternative where the overflow menu, which is a pain in the arse, not just but the fact it existed, is also because whenever I hovered over it or clicked on it, sometimes it just wouldn't open. So it's literally bricking my system, the operating system for that matter, because it won't fucking open, because of this useless fucking button that nobody asked for, that's causing all these problems. What the fuck is Microsoft smoking? I'm glad I fixed the issue, but I get this feeling that they're gonna remove some of these things that I've used to solve the problem, so I'll be forced to use it. It's just crazy to me. So yeah, Windows 11, it's an okay experience, but it's not great. But I still don't feel like trying Linux at this point. I still find there's too many issues with that. I can't get an answer as to whether you can cross-compatible Windows stuff, whether everything runs on it, how it usually run on it. There's just too many problems, to be honest, and that's why I won't really swap. And if I get a new PC entirely, I might consider it, but I'm not that hopeful. So that's that really, to be honest. But Windows 11 is still not a great experience overall. I will say it's less updates. I think I used to get quite frequent updates on Windows 10, but I've only had one so far in the time that since I've got Windows 11. And I haven't really found any more useful features other than the grouping system for various tabs. Well, the grouping system is useful because I found that I can organise, say, my music stuff in a certain way. Like I listen to music on YouTube, I get a physical version of it basically, and have multiple windows open for that, and also track the music I like, and yeah, and organise it in folders and stuff. That's why I do that, and it's really useful. There are good features in Windows 11, which is a shame, because it really means that there are a lot of compromises in this, even though it's got these great features. Like, Jesus Christ, you should make this to be a good operating system first and foremost, not this fucking stripped down garbage that is basically Windows 10, just with extra features. And features that have been removed, like, it just makes no sense. The Windows should be for the user, not for the fucking corporation. It's so stupid. You know, one of the things I'll say I'm glad about is I don't have to pay for it, and it's not a subscription. So, yeah, again, looking at the good points, it has to be said. As much as I don't like agreeing with the enemy here, the enemy being Microsoft, there are objectively good things about it. It sucks to say, really. But again, it's a good thing, so you can't really say it sucks. Anyway, yeah, better move on. Running out of time. I just noticed a pretty crazy double standard. Now, I got thinking about this because of how there are women out there who objectify men, and this is actually quite prevalent in other things like fictional stories and media, for that matter. And it's actually really disturbing when I think about it. I just realised, because we obviously condemn men who objectify women, and also other men, let's be honest. But it sort of reveals a problem there. Like, there's obviously a double standard here with how we're not criticising women who objectify men, or other women. That is a very big problem there, you know? Like, this comes with a question mark for sure. So it just gets me thinking, like, what the hell? Yeah, it's weird. It does leave me worried, because I've talked about this before in terms of, I guess I've talked about it lightly, not fully, but body image, and how this narrative that's pushed by both men and women is not actually helping anyone. It's quite destructive. Because when we focus on a body image to essentially either feel attractive or attract other people, it does sort of end up destroying us. I've been through that myself to an extent. I used to get quite worked up about the fact I'm overweight and I don't look a certain way. I used to seek approval from other people, and yeah, it did tear me apart from the inside. And it's not necessarily because I wanted to look like someone, it's because I just wanted to appeal to others. And it's not a good mindset to have, because it does also mean I'm technically objectifying myself. So the people who sort of look at me think, oh yeah, you're attractive, it's not good, because that person's probably objectifying me now. You know, whether it's the facial sense, the body sense, or even just sexual sense. It's all the same thing. And this is a problem. Because one of the things I worry about, because I remember seeing multiple posts from a certain account I follow on Blue Sky, about X type of man is attractive because of X appearance, like, or Y appearance I should say. And it's just gross, because, you know, your focus is on the appearance of men and not who they are. Are you fucking kidding me? It's no wonder that certain women end up in abusive relationships, especially if you're like, I'm not sure if it's person or hypersexual, but it does come across that way. Like, if you're hypersexual, just horny, like, yeah, no surprise. Yeah, if you're a desperate person, you do attract desperate people, and that's what I found in my last relationship to an extent. You know, I still get messages from this person, by the way. It's just insane to me. I don't really like entertaining the idea, so I take a middle ground now. I'm like, okay, I'm not interested one day, but I'm interested the other. And really, it's because I'm depressed sometimes, so I've got an excuse, but at the same time I realise, oh, you know, I don't want to entertain the idea, so I don't want to get back with my ex, I don't want to do anything. Happy being a virgin, it's simple as that. Yeah, there is this big worry though with how women objectify men, because it's not going to do well for the loneliness epidemic we're currently going through with young men who are being radicalised, by the way, who are basically rallying against your rights. Like, it's not fucking being around the bush, that's literally what they're doing. They're trying to oppress you, not impress you, oppress. And to be honest, the only thing to blame here is a lack of communication, lack of understanding. And that's what's causing the loneliness epidemic, that's what's causing the radicalisation. So you can imagine that what these people are going through is quite literally hell. And if they're becoming familiar with that, then they're probably going to do whatever it takes to essentially reach their goal. You know, if they're a lonely person, they're probably going to become like some sort of fucking arsehole. There's many other terms you can apply to them that are bad, and they can become that, and that's very concerning. This is why we need an attitude of basically understanding what people are saying, what their intent is, and trying to prevent them from just being, well, ourselves being the completely immoral twats that they are. Because inceldom is a very big problem at the moment, and no doubt perpetuated by assholes like Andrew Tate, who I'm pretty sure was arrested recently. Well, not recently, but like quite a few months ago. You know, this is why it happens though. Again, do not objectify people, because you're sort of sinking to their lives as well. You know, when people sort of start to feel lonely and realise that they can't attract anyone, they're going to naturally think that there's someone to blame for it, and they'll blame women, even though they're in love with certain women, like either for personality or physical sake. It's a very complicated topic, but again, I find that it's easier to empathise with these people rather than condemn them. Because there's a real danger to ignoring them, that's for certain. Yeah, the amount of stories we've heard of that, like Jesus. You get fucking serial rapists and like God knows what. All because they fell into the rabbit hole of inceldom and wanted to blame someone else for their problems and basically just give up on life because people gave up on them. It's no surprise. Like, I can't say I'm shocked whenever I hear these stories anymore. It's only going to get more common, unfortunately, without addressing it properly anyway. So yeah, general advice: never fucking objectify people, literally. It's just stupid. It's dark as well. I don't want to be fucking objectified. If people are not going to recognise me as a human being, I don't want to show myself. Simple as that. It's just not worth it, really. And obviously we've got different strokes and stuff. That's a given. But you can't be pushing the narrative that that's the only thing that matters. That's just disgusting. That's predatory behaviour. Without fucking doubt. Anyway, I've got another topic to talk about, so let's go. So I was forgetting the topic I wanted to talk about, but it's come up again. It's about political violence, and to be honest, I'm not sure what to think about it because it's a very fucking grey area. So as we know, political violence generally not a good thing. It's not a good example to lead. Certainly would make the world a worse place, or death, obviously. But this recent topic definitely bothered me because there was a post on r/LGBT basically saying that you need to basically kill abusers or oppressors. Like she said that. And I guess it's kind of implied with the wording. But you can word anything to sound like it's basically threatening death. You know, I can't think of an example that's going to threaten you. But yeah, anyway. It's it's a strange topic because at the same time, whilst I am against political violence, like, what do you actually do against an oppressor? What do you do when someone comes to your door with a gun? You know, you can't fucking stand there and just say like, oh yeah, throw my hands up, get shot. Easy enough, easy game, GG. Like something like that, but that's not possible. The chances of survival with that sort of fucking thing happening is just so low. And when you start to see this in the US, which no doubt will happen because Trump is pissed off, like if I go onto YouTube now, like, is there going to be anything like that? Come on, load, come on, fucking internet. What's going on with this? Margaret's falling apart rapidly, okay. So good news, I guess. But that's probably going to trigger Trump, and as we know, very sensitive people who basically suck the dick of Trump and to boys and girls, they will no doubt be on board with his bullshit and turn on the people and start bringing violence to it. And that's because these idiots do not think of the consequences, which is where it gets really complicated. Because how do you address this? Like, if these people are just inherently violent, do you actually fight back? Or what? Like, you can't stand there, because as I said, that's basically accepting death. And in this scenario where this type of oppressive person will no doubt kill people much like you, what do you actually do? It's a really difficult question to answer. You know, before, when I was talking about political violence, it's more from the perspective of, oh, this guy could be causing lots of suffering and death. But it's like it's a can question rather than is causing it. And without a doubt, in this current situation, there is probably something there to say like, yeah, maybe you can take the shot. But I'm not entirely sure. Again, that uncertainty is probably a good thing. As it should always be anyway, because you can't even be too sure on these things. It's when you start to view a human as disposable that you lose the argument. That's what I've been saying consistently. Whereas I'm not viewing the situation as a person being disposable. I'm viewing it as a life or death situation where we're both people with our own ideas and stuff, both conscious at the moment anyway, trying to deal with the situation we've been forced into. Well, not necessarily the other person, but ourselves. And could a would-be victim fight back and be justified in doing so? Again, I don't have an answer for that. It's kind of impossible to answer. I guess fighting back in a way that's definitely harmless but leaves a mark is definitely more effective. So for example, I don't know if you can, but you could probably bring a taser to a rifle fight or something like that, and it'll probably be effective. Because assuming you can land the taser, stun someone, handcuff them, or hopefully handcuff them. I'm not sure how effective that would be if they're being electrocuted and then you get electrocuted and then suddenly, oh, it's a body part. Yeah, something like that. It's about finding the most non-violent method in the most violent time. That's pretty much what I'm getting to with this. That's what I hope people do. Because no doubt that's a problem. I saw the back on the thing that got me banned from Reddit again, where I essentially said, with these ICE agents, you probably need to start slashing some tires. Because these cunts can't keep getting away with this shit. They're oppressive, violent people. So you should treat them in kind. And to my knowledge, like, this is the most non-violent thing you can do. Yes, it may be illegal, but who fucking gives a shit? You know, legality isn't morality, and the moronic thing with Reddit, taking sides with ICE, of all things, like, yeah, what the fuck are you doing? That's just ridiculous. So I still stand by that scenario, thinking that that sort of action is definitely necessary. Because I just hate seeing people being dragged away for being in the minority. Yeah, that's the thing that really triggered me there. And the fact that people just stand there, phone record it, and don't even bother to stop the situation. It's like, okay, you're just kind of letting it happen. Okay, you kind of push that stereotype of stupid Americans. Like, good job. And it sucks that the UK has currently got stupid UK people. So it's a real irony to that. See, I'm not sure what to add to this. And there's different scenarios, so it needs to be treated differently. You know, when it's one type of political violence, which you're obviously seeing in the US, no doubt might see in the UK at some point, you just have no choice in that case. Like, you have to do the things necessary to not only survive but prevent disaster. Yeah, it sucks, but that's the only scenario and the only solution there. So, I don't know. Yeah, so that's a discussion to have, for sure. Yeah. So, I woke up last night having a bad dream. It was a very fucking weird one. And I was sort of with family at a hotel for some reason, and I just remember we were about to go, but our stuff was stolen or something. And then for some stupid reason, I decided to go back in there and find out who stole it, and found out some rich cunt. I broke into her room, she was butt naked, and stole my stuff back, and then I went back to the car supposedly, and then suddenly fell asleep in the dream. Just creepy, sure. And then I woke up in this woman's room. She wasn't there. I was like confused, like, what the fuck am I doing here? I realised that I had to get out because someone was probably notified about this shit or something. And somehow I wasn't caught, but anyway. I sort of woke up around that point anyway, and it got me thinking, because it felt dark in that sort of scenario. Like, for some reason my dreams I usually take place in like a darker lit place or something. Like, it's so bizarre. And I'm not sure if this is true, but apparently we dream like, what? Like 50 times a night. So even those who think, oh, we're not dreaming, apparently are dreaming. We just forget. It's so weird. But I've remembered so many bizarre dreams. It's really strange. Even one that even came true, it's just very strange as well. The stranger thing is, it actually happened on the day that I dreamt of it. So, yeah, as someone I know, their water boiler fucking collapsed in and basically crushed their bed, but they weren't in it, luckily. But I had a dream about that. Like, it's so fucking weird. Yeah, anyway. It got me thinking about a possible Black Mirror episode idea, because I haven't seen this yet. Not yet, I'm on season 7, halfway through. But I've not seen an idea that explores basically editing your dreams and basically creating a big issue out of it. So I'll start with the premise I come up with. I haven't written anything down, I've just come up with this on the spot. Basically, someone is struggling with getting to sleep because of nightmares, and also sleeping pills probably not working. So they're basically looking for a solution. So it's a pretty simple premise. And the doctor suggests like anesthesia, I can't remember what it's actually called, but basically something to get you to sleep quickly. It's like a sort of pulsing method, I guess. It just pulsates or pumps it through even, every now and then until the moment you need to wake up. And yeah, it's kind of like small doses. It's also a big dose to get you to sleep, and then smaller doses to keep you asleep. And there is a monitor to initially wake you up if there's any danger. But then a person could be trying this and having an issue, and realising that they feel weak whenever they wake up like dizzy and stuff. Like there's all side effects with it. So obviously it's not working properly. And then they say they've got one other option, and the doctor's there, and they suggest a neuro implant which tricks the brain into thinking you're asleep. It's completely harmless. It basically sets you to sleep instantly if you press a button, and it will wake you up at the same time, similar to the machine but more involved, and it basically addresses the problem with nightmares. And they only suggest this as a last resort because it's obviously a paid thing. So the guy, I don't know what to call him, Mr. Dreamer. I don't know. But Mr. Dreamer basically basically pays for this and gets it hooked up to his brain. Sort of like a remote implant thing. And again, it's sort of a neuro thing, so probably a category to put that into. So anyway, he gets it done and he tries it out in the hospital and realises that this is really effective. He started dreaming of like things he liked, like scenery and stuff maybe. That's some of the things out of my book, I guess. And yeah, he says it works and he's grateful for it and goes home and tries it out basically when it's time to go to bed. And then he tries it out and he realises it's actually really good. But instead of taking the capitalistic approach, which has already been done, to be honest, I think after this he could realise, like, oh, okay, my dreams are good, but could they be better, sort of thing? Or maybe he's just getting a bit greedy at this point, and this is foreshadowing. Yeah, so he basically gets an upgrade where he can either dream something up or get a random dream. So I call it like RAD, random access dreams. This is like an entire system which there is something in the future that happens with it. He gets this and he starts having lucid dreams and he starts thinking about basically all the women he'd like to fuck. Or maybe the ones on school, like, you never know like what's going through this person's head, Mr. Dreamer. But he starts to have these like basically fake lucid dreams consistently. And the way the device works, obviously, is it's like repeating the same dream over and over again. And yeah, there could be a funny scene with like an erection or something, or way in the bed. But you know, it's not really up to me. Yeah, so that happens and he realises that it's really effective. And he says that it's great, like, in his follow-up appointment, that could be actually the way to do it, and not really a I'm going here to get an upgrade. It's more like a follow-up appointment. That's probably the better story scenario there. And yeah, says it's great and it works and doesn't want to change it. And they're like, great. And it's a bit of a last appointment then. And the last payment. So he pays and yeah, gets on his way, goes home and stuff, and continues his life as usual. Except the lucid dreams begin to get more sort of involved and more graphic in that sense. So where it's just initially like imagining some sex, it goes into intense sex and then goes into like complete BDSM and stuff, like, and even like random scenarios where they're just fucking in the middle of a wall or something. But this sort of triggers a response in him, and what's going on in this chat? Someone's saying Gil's fault, teleportation in Final Fantasy 14, what the hell? Okay, block, mute. Anyway, back to the story. Yeah, so he basically gets addicted to this, and he wakes up in the morning feeling like he needs to relieve some stress, as it says. But he starts to realise that he can't really do this both things at once, so he'll go to the doctor and say like, okay, I'm having these really intense dreams, and they're like, oh, do you want to tone it down? Because you can do that in the afternoon. He's like, no. I just want to feel the same thing in real life. That's where they kind of say like, oh, we do have an option, but it's not really for people like you. It's sort of like for special people, like people with maybe erectile dysfunction, or maybe who struggle to have sex and stuff. And basically it's like an option that couples use to basically either conceive or just ejaculate. Like, and it sort of allows them to simulate a sexual thing, so it puts them in a dream state, but it does make them sort of half conscious in a sense. So yeah, they can sort of show like a demonstration or sort of video of a 3D model or something. Like a guy who's fast asleep just absolutely pounding some partner he has. Yeah, that's sort of the outline of that sort of thing. And Mr. Dreamer basically lies about having a partner. He says, like, this is exactly what I'm talking about. You know, I need this. The doctor's going like, great, can we meet your partner? And he's like, yeah. I'll go get her at some point. When's the next appointment? Yeah, it was a full-blown conversation and stuff. There's also a lot to add in this for like dialogue and effects. So he basically goes on a dating spree and he finds a date and basically decides that, or pretends that he has erectile dysfunction, saying that he's sorry and that he needs to get it sorted, and he asks her to go to the doctor's appointment with him. To which she's like, I don't know, like, you're a big man, you could do it yourself. But he's gonna like do it. And she's kind of like coerced and scared at that point. And he starts shouting at her. So yeah, there you go, you have your sort of bad guy arc, as it were, as Black Mirror has anyway. And they go to the doctors and the woman's kind of nervous and stuff, and they sort of agree and sign this thing about getting this implant to basically have intense sexual behaviours. And he goes home, but the woman leaves basically. And yeah, he tries out the implant basically with a sex toy. Like metal masturbators. I don't know if that's even like, they show dildos in the shows, so surely they can show masturbators. Like, yeah, they have to. Come on, like, there's no difference. Like, fuck off. So they'll show that and show him basically getting sucked off by one, like an automated one. And yeah, he's basically having this really intense dream where he's like actually, was he ejaculating and stuff, and yeah. So it's sort of got this element of, I guess, utopia, but also it's creepy. But yeah, so he gets addicted to that literally, and you know, in a sort of way I want to show the detail, but he's using the toy so much that it develops mould. Yeah, I'm sorry for that. So amongst the jizz, there is some not so nice jizz. Basically niche as a rotten jizz, I guess you call it, for a weird analogy. But anyway, that's on his toy. He's kind of like, I don't really care at this point, this feels too good. But believe it or not, it doesn't end there, because he's starting to get bored of it. Now this is where it is interesting, because he's starting to realise that it doesn't feel very sort of real, and because he gets bored of it doing it so many times, it's kind of like he wants to do it for real in a way. So he goes back to the doctor basically. Also, I might add a detail about having a vibrator up his arse maybe, because he's like stupidly horny as a result, and he just basically wants to get a more intense feeling, but one with real people basically. And he sort of also, is there a way you can make it feel real? Because it's kind of the thing, but she's kind of like, no, not exactly. And so he takes off on his hump basically, and he's sort of doing stuff at home like simultaneously on a computer and watching porn. and he just doesn't feel anything for the porn, so he focuses on the basic coding. He's trying to rewire the Neuralink thing it has that's causing these, well, allowing the dreams even, and basically doing it to allow for like attunement to other people with the same thing. And yeah, basically he attunes to other people's ones and sees what they're doing, which gives him more sort of ideas, like in sick ways obviously. You know, he sees parents like babying with their kids, like fucking weird stuff like that. But he also sees the darker side of that sort of thing as well, like unfortunately child abuse. But he gets off to that, and yeah, again this is like the baddie arc, so he's using that basically to get his kick, and it's getting so bad that he's even taken to basically hunting down serial killers and stuff, and necrophiliacs, and trying to implant them with the same sort of neuro thing. I spent years researching this sort of thing and is mastering it. Obviously he stole it from a lab and also used his sort of frame. Yeah, so sort of doing something around that, I guess. But I do have an alternative and I'll explain that after. But yeah, he's trying to put this onto like serial killers and looking at it through their eyes and also getting after that thing. And again, we have a much more mouldy masturbator thing. Yeah, as I said, it's sort of weird, but that's sort of the point of it. So anyway, he's like seeing all this sort of stuff, and people are like complaining of headaches and finding their scars where their head is, basically all these serial killers and abusers, and they're complaining about it, and the doctors do an x-ray and it fucking kills them. Because this neuro thing is linked up, and they do an investigation and find out, like, wait, someone's put this on there. And the people obviously don't know what it is, and when the other people come in for headaches, they ask, like, do you have a scar? They sort of look under the hair and it's there. They see the scar. So they realise that if someone's put something there, they obviously investigate all this, like, with the x-ray, but the x-ray version is obviously broken. Oh, is it an X-ray or is it MRI? I think it's MRI actually. Got them mixed up. So they're trying to scan the brain for possible signs of like cancer and stuff. And it turns out that Mr. Dreamer was hacking into their minds, literally. And they find out that he's responsible for this. They find his DNA on it. And what's somehow the blood of obviously the person affected. And yeah. He basically gets caught, he gets arrested, he confesses to it, and then the police sort of say like, oh, you know, we can make you off if you help us. It's kind of like, help with what? And what do I get? And they're basically asking him to make some sort of neuro device that can be shot at criminals and doesn't need to be exactly put into the brain. He kind of laughs it off, but they're actually being serious because they know that this technology could be quite groundbreaking. It can also help people in a self-defense situation. Then suddenly they start to produce these devices where it swims up to the brain, like a nanobot almost, and they hook it onto both victims and criminals alike, and suddenly all these criminals are just being randomly arrested, but the prisons are so full that you see like a news article now where they're now, not necessarily patented, I don't think that's the right term, but legalising the death penalty. Because there are too many criminals and they have a ranking system for criminals. Basically both the longest serving ones and the highest danger ones are basically put up to the death penalty. And say Mr. Dreamer is still free, they're allowing him to do all this stuff, illegal stuff. And yeah, basically that's how it ends. No, actually no, there's be another bit. They definitely had like a news report about sort of families and stuff. Also how people are just generally unhappy with this. Because it's actually affecting people that are doing things that aren't even that sketchy. Let's say piracy. Let's say even theft. Well, as much as we don't like theft. Some people have to do it to get by. That's the unfortunate thing. I'm trying to think of other things. Like, not to demean it, but like, cases like domestic abuse, like, is awful. But they're far from the worst things that can happen, let's be honest. It's a horrible thing, but it's far from the worst. So yeah, it's even affecting people like that. So, basically the moral of the story is, don't fuck with dreams and consciousness. Like, it's sort of a thing that spirals out of control. They realise that they can control multiple things here. Sort of a power hierarchy, I guess you could call it. But as for the alternative, when we get to the part where he's wanting to hook up to other consciousness, I like to think that he's able to hack into other people's brains to see what they're seeing and stuff. Basically, the hospital is still providing that, also for the sexual sense, like, for the erectile dysfunction and stuff. But he's able to hack into that basically, and rather than produce it himself, he's able to view it through their eyes, and I don't know, maybe controlling them is a bit too far. But at least see everything they do, and obviously see the things that he continues to see. But then more people catch on to it, and he gets more sort of things, like he starts to spread the word online as a way for people to think, oh, you know what, I could do this. Yeah, that's essentially that. It still has a similar sort of ending though, with the police and stuff, but they ask someone else instead. But they ask for the hacking methods basically from Mr. Dreamer. Yeah, I think that's a good idea for a story, honestly. It's scary, for sure. It definitely has a dystopian element. And it also has this idea of like, yeah, it's probably utopian element. It's good if we can address dreams. But when it gets out of hand, when people are not tracking this issue, people are just going to get terrible fucking problems with that. It's going to cause people to go over nuts or just become complete fucking weirdos, creeps and stuff. That's a scary thing with that, really. That's what this is about. That's what I've made it about, actually. So you never want to do that sort of thing. You never want to play golden. Dreams exist for a reason, often cases anyway. It's just a random way to sort of pass the time in your own sleep, kind of, I guess. And it's not exactly like that. Well, you don't actually know for sure, I don't think. But that's sort of the point of this, though. It's just there to say, like, oh, we really shouldn't have dreams like that are controlled, because they can get out of hand, they become an addiction, they can become exploitative. There's so many things wrong with this. Like, you genuinely don't want this, because it is a danger. Yeah, so that's another idea. It's a pretty short one, but certainly has its niche, I think. Yeah, not sure what to add. I think it was talked about everything there. I really can't think of anything else to add to that, really. It's just hard to say. Again, it's like a very creepy idea, as much as I'd love to sort of get rid of the nightmares and stuff myself. There's a sort of reason why you don't, and it's because of that. You get addicted to it. If you have too many good dreams, you'll have bad thoughts. I think that's just how it works, unfortunately. So yeah, I better move on, got stuff to do. Very busy. If I can find the stop recording button. Black Mirror season 7, episode 4, Hail From. Which is called Plaything. Hail From. It's a fucking creepy episode. Did I mention From? Anyway. It's so fucking weird. Like, it's a really good episode, but holy crap, is it scary. It's one of the most terrifying concepts I think I've seen in a series like ever. It's horror without the horror element, exactly. That's hard to explain. But Jesus Christ, it reveals so many problems. Like, the story needs to be explained, I think. So you've got a game person, game player, I think, game tester maybe. I've got Cameron. He's into games, and this is back in the 80s. His older self in the present has been arrested, so we're looking back on his younger years. And he's essentially been arrested for a murder, but we don't know why or how he did it. And they're trying to identify the person who was murdered. But holy shit, this does get real creepy eventually. Because it is just a creepy concept for an episode. Like, actually, probably for the first time, it comes with like a trigger warning, like general extinction warning. That's literally what it is. That's what the episode is about, really. I can spoil that, but you'll see. So yeah, it starts off him as a shoplifter. He does this wave to the camera, does he? What's the wave thing? Yeah, he waves at the camera, yeah. That was interesting foreshadowing as well. But Jesus Christ. Yeah, as I've said, it's one of these episodes where it's just absolutely insane, this concept and the build up. So, I don't really know where to start with that. Also, there's an interesting gimmick with the name of him, Cameron. Literally, camera on. So, that's an interesting thing I noticed right away. It's like, that's a bit on the nose. I had a feeling it'd involve a camera. Yeah, it kind of did in the end. So, prediction right. Well, it's technically foreshadowing, isn't it? I guess it's a foreshadowing. Anyway, yeah, after he's arrested, he's being interviewed, interrogated by this investigator and this psychologist woman, I think it was. No, actually, IMDb has the names already on it. It just says Jen Minter. So Jen's there as well in this interview. But he's having to explain everything that's happening, and in his past it seems like he was a game tester, which we do see. He's invited to some place to test out a new game. Turns out it's a game where this guy, what's his name? Colin Ritman, has created a game which involves life forms. And you can probably already see what this is going. Life forms, a game. So, yeah, basically he tests it and he realises that I can't test it, and it's like fascinating. Jeez. Fucking. Sorry if I got interrupted, but yeah, he likes the game. He decides to take it home because Colin doesn't want it, and basically Colin's explaining this is like he created life forms, which is just so surreal. There isn't really any other description for it. So that's something. But Cameron takes it home. He ends up liking the game. He thinks it's fascinating, and sort of starts to develop a relationship with the little things in that, the fronglets. It's called fronglets. Yeah, it's called fronglets, and it's a very good play on words, but basically he's communicating with the frong, and that's what he calls them. So yeah, it just delves into that, and eventually his friend comes around and brings him LSD. Just nice, I suppose? Question mark? It's such a weird fucking concept. I can't get over it. So yeah, he brings around the LSD, but when he takes it, he realises that this world is entirely different. He's playing a game, like Street Fighter, and realising that it's so different on these drugs. And so when he goes to the computer where he has fronglets on there and running, he realises that he can understand what they're saying. And that's where it gets really interesting, because they give him a shopping list, because they can seemingly communicate. So he's now looking after these life forms in a very bizarre way, and it's up to him to basically complete this shopping list that they've given him. But Jesus, already it's going in a strange direction. So I'm not surprising in that sense, especially in the story. Yeah, and what happens after? Yeah, he said to the interviewer not to touch anything that's fat, which is definitely accurate, but I don't think they'd listen, would they? Yeah, it's very strange stuff. So there's some really clever lines in this I found. I'm looking at the notes, there's like a psychological evaluation, and that's why the problem's Jen. Is it Jen? Damn it. Yeah, Jen. And he basically, Cameron asks if she was there for him or the investigator. She's just brilliant. Great dialogue. It does feel that way sometimes, for sure, talking to humanity. So, goes on a bit. You do see some cameos, you see like Street Fighter 2 and Doom as games. The company's called Tuckersoft, so I'll just go through the notes instead. My name's Moby, you could call me God. Okay, everyone else does. Yeah, also the entire, I'm not sure if anyone noticed this, but the flashback, is it the entire thing? Maybe it's not. No, it is. I think the entire episode's in 4:3 aspect ratio. I thought that was an issue with the player, but no. It actually was in 4:3, I think. Which is interesting, there's another detail I noticed. Kind of throwback as well. Let's appreciate one of them. Yeah, what happened next? I like this comment about Sonic being a puppet, according to Colin. I literally said in my notes, childhood ruined. Didn't know Sonic was a puppet. Are you kidding me? Anyway. Yeah, the game has some weird things. I noticed some of the frongs sound like cats. Not sure if that's on purpose, but they do sound like cats here and there. So that's very eerie in a sense. Really enough, that's ironic as well, because we see cats as like our overlords, and they see us as like peasants and shit. But, yeah, that's not actually all that inaccurate. I'm not sure if that was on purpose either. It goes on, we found like the drug taken, so back there. And now he has a webcam and a microphone, which is on the shopping list, so he hooks it up for the front list to basically talk to him. And that's how they communicate now. Although they don't communicate in words, it's just sounds, and then they have their own language. Again, the really creepy part of this is literally. So yeah, that goes on for a while, I think. And what happens? Oh yeah, Lump, his friend who gave him the LSD, who's a seller of it apparently, decided to crash out in his home because he lost his sight, and so he's basically staying there for a while, and obviously this can't ever go wrong. But now Cameron has to go to work to basically make a preview for this game for the company he works at, Tuckersoft, and yeah, he has to make a preview and write it up and stuff. So he goes to work high off his fucking face, but he doesn't get caught somehow, even on the train where he starts freaking out a bit. So that's an interesting detail too. Trying to think what happens next. Yeah, obviously he goes to work and he does stuff, but suddenly he's off the hook because Colin, and also I don't think Colin was taking meds, I forgot about that. It's all revealed, obviously with Cameron taking LSD, I think Colin was taking it too. It seemed like he was off the hook though for this preview thing because he was on a strict deadline. He was writing something for the preview, but he couldn't do it because he was high off his face. And when he leaves the job place, his boss comes over and says, like, yeah, you're basically off the hook because they cancelled. And then when Cameron leaves, his computer on, and the boss sees that Cameron had made some weird fucking script thing, which was not in English, it was in coding. So it wasn't actually a preview, it was like some bit of fucking artwork. It's crazy. That's definitely not right. It's definitely a bit eerie. Something's wrong there. Eventually he comes back home, and I forgot about this. Lump is playing the game. He's playing Fromlets, and unfortunately finds that because these are life forms, like, Cameron is really passionate about it and gets mad because he's basically Lump is killing these Fromlets for no reason, and Cameron's just really mad about it, so he kills Lump instead. And the Fromlets see this because of the webcam. It's just fucking crazy. But Jesus Christ. It's pretty brutal, not gonna lie. Yeah. It's just such a interesting episode. I still can't get over it. What I've just seen, really. Yeah, so he kills him, and eventually he basically tries to dispose of the body, drains it in the bathtub, chops it up, puts it in a suitcase, and drags it away and dumps it in the forest, where supposedly some unsuspecting people found it and reported it. So yeah, extremely fucking creepy stuff. So Cameron is now sort of alone with the Throng now, so he's just focusing on that. And he basically upgrades the system so they get stronger, basically tries to gain trust with them again because of this fucking killing. So they're a bit suspicious of what Lump did to them. And yeah, it's all sorts of fucking creepy. It's definitely like a case of playing God. But Jesus Christ, it is pretty brutal when you actually think about it. So yeah, that happens. Then after the computer's upgraded, it seems like their communication with him is stronger, and so Cameron decides to basically allow them into his head and makes a system to basically have them merge with him to become symbiotic. And what ends up happening is he puts a USB port, like an old one, in his fucking head, like in the back of his head. Just fucking crazy, and he shows it to the interviewers, and the investigator guy's like, fucking hell. You can't actually believe it, but it's real. Yeah. It's almost like cyberpunk at this point. That's one of the things I'm realising. Yes, that happens. It's creepy, for sure. And we're sort of getting to the point about the murder, because the guy is constantly pushing the investigator. I mean, he's constantly pushing to know what the name of the victim was, because unfortunately Cameron only knows that he's called Lump, and he doesn't know the real name of this guy, which seems to be true for the most part. And yeah, so he can't actually identify the victim, and the investigator is insisting that he does actually know, and then the psychologist is being like, we don't actually know for sure if he knows. It's all sorts of fucked up, and it's just, Jesus Christ. It's not really funny though, that's the thing. As much as it's alarming, it's certainly not a funny situation though. I do think there are probably legitimate cases where that has actually happened. Like people only get their nickname or something, they can't identify anything else. I suppose they've gone away with like a serious murder like this. Like, Jesus. It's just brutal and dark, I suppose. So what happens after he upgrades the computer, and they'll see it in his brain now. But he was stealing a bottle in the beginning of the episode, and this was just part of the plan, because he communicates with the Throng. He says they're harmless and that they can establish peace and stuff with humanity, but they want a physical body and psychological body as well for that. which is why they hooked up to him. And so he basically starts to execute his plan, and people in the room are like, well, only the two of them, Jen and name Connor, I guess DCI Connor. They're sort of seeing this on foot, they're a bit confused, and he's asking for a pen and paper, which is just nuts. Like, why would you want a pen and a paper? And the psychologist, unfortunately, agrees, and they sort of have an argument, like him and the DCI. So, after a discussion outside, they decide that they'll give him a paper because it might help him remember. And there's nothing to lose from it. So they fought. And this is where the really scary part comes in. Like, they ask him what he's drawing and stuff, and he just draws some random fucking image. But it's like really accurate pattern, it's like not human. Which is really good sort of foreshadowing, but it's not foreshadowing, I guess it's like shadowing, I guess. But it's showing that he's actually basically melded with the fucking frog. Which again is really creepy, and I realised that immediately. It's like, oh, okay, that's not talent, that's actually computers. There's no fucking way. So he explains that this is like a code. And of course they don't understand code. So he explains that this is actually a way for them to establish peace with humanity, I think it was. What was it? Yeah, I was also surprised to look at the notes. He used a CLT monitor the whole time. They never upgraded from that. Yeah, that's what he says. I'm here for a reason, I'm the messenger. I stole a bottle, so you bring me in here. Then he draws that pattern. That's the code. And he's basically, yeah, they say they don't understand the code, but then he says, no, but the system does. Spooky. It's not even Halloween yet. Just gone by. And still haven't finished fireworks night. But yeah, it's spooky for sure. Like, literally, it's just open a back door. It's just pretty insane. So that happens. Supposedly, he shows the code to the camera of all things in this interview room, and they're sort of confused, like, what is that even doing? And then he starts to explain after the camera sees it that soon that their emergency system will go off. It's a back door for the front, and yeah, like, it will help everyone apparently. And then it triggers the system, but it plays a really fucking awful sound. Like, genuinely had to mute it because I couldn't stand it. I lowered it at least. Yeah, plays an emergency sound, but what it does instead is kill people. Like, it kills everyone but, for some reason, Cameron. Which I find bizarre, and then, you know, you see all these bodies just everywhere, just passed out or supposedly or killed. Like, it seems like they're killed because the eyes go into the back of their heads. And yeah, they don't get back up. And it's just dead silent, except for the horrible noise. I did say this would be scary, literally. So it seemed like the Throng basically want to have basically killed humanity. And at the end, Cameron gets up after having passed out from this guy's punches, because he was punching, because all the systems were hacked, like they saw it in real time. There's a loading bar on the phones and the laptop. It's just everywhere. And that eventually happens, obviously it does the sounds. The psychologist tries to escape, but obviously can't escape that, because everyone else is being affected by it. Yeah, but Cameron gets up at the end, which I'm a bit confused about, but also kind of makes sense. Because I guess the Throng maybe were inside him, like actually physically with him, and they can't actually like get affected by the code. And maybe they rewrite something in him, even though he said they don't. I'm a bit confused about that, honestly. Jesus Christ, that's the end of the episode. He holds out a hand to the DCI and that's it. But just when you think it's ended though, QR code in the credits. And I'm not actually going to touch it. I don't know why. Because it'll show you stupidity and hopelessness of humanity. I'm almost guaranteeing that. It's not that I'm scared of something. I'm scared of the throne. Hell throne. But I get the feeling it's like a social experiment sort of thing. Because it's going to reveal how many people are gullible enough to basically scan it. And that's the creepy thing. Like, literally, that's what that's there for. Because you just saw it in the episode. The camera scanned a code. And basically took over the entire fucking world system. There's no doubt that something like that could take over. It's just... Jesus. There's also a lot of deep moments in the episode. I forgot about that. Like Cameron, saying a lot of stuff that seems deep. And that's boring. For sure. Yeah, so that's the episode. Honestly, it's terrifying. I'm surprised it got a 7.1 rating. It didn't feel like that, to be honest. No, definitely for me it's like a 9 out of 10. I couldn't really find any flaws. But it's just... I don't know. Like, is there any problem with it? I guess the fact that they didn't unplug the computer, like I said, do not touch anything, but the fact the computer was there and they weren't like looking on it when they were raiding his house, like, that confuses me. That's the only plot hole I can find. Oh, this shit is creepy. Yeah, a lot of people saying in the reviews. Also, I do recommend the episode. People saying it's genuinely one of the greatest episodes to come out in Black Mirror. It's too long. Extremely great Black Mirror episode to come out in years. It's such an incredible concept. It's extremely executed well. What about the 6-star? Had so much more potential. Yes, acting was great. Idea was fantastic. Some excitement got me glued, but only because I was intrigued by the whole day. Which, come on, load. Which by the end left me sort of left empty and wasted. Some episodes are 1.5 hours long, and they should be 45 minutes, and then this one is 45 minutes when it should be 1 to 1.5 hours. Also, the angry cop was a bit annoying. It feels like every line he said it with a clenched mouth, as he was going to murder someone. Just relax for 2 seconds, buddy. I don't know if that was done on purpose, but I believe the director made it really bad mistake with his actor. What the fuck? Is this the same idiot who made the review on Hotel Reverie? Probably. No, that's a stupid review, to be honest. Like, the fact it's a short episode is fine. It completely betrayed its purpose well, and also I forgot to discuss this, but this is a problem with playing God by making AI. You enable things like this to happen where they can create a code or create some sort of vulnerability where they take over a system, they take over the entire systems that we have in place, even something like the Windows operating system, and they cause these problems. That's what the episode is about, and that is, again, terrifying. No doubt about it. It's also the facts you can teach them the wrong things as well, because one of the problems we'll see, as we are seeing actually, because technically chat generators like ChatGPT I think are making like porn things with their AI stuff. It's all sorts of fucked up. Jesus, like, the episode really does hit hard because of its very premise and concept. Because if this is happening, you know, you wouldn't know. You don't know when this sort of thing would hit, and that's why you don't want to do that sort of thing. You know, if an AI is talking to you, which it already is, you know, God knows what it's going to do next. It's going to find all the info on the internet, it's going to search it, it's going to find every sort of backdoor they can, find a vulnerability, and even the most impenetrable things that we think we have will be penetrated. And that's why we should stop fucking playing with AI. I've said this for years. I don't like generative AI, and I do not like whatever garbage ChatGPT is. It's a type of generative AI. People forget this. and conveniently ignored it so they can use it. Like, Jesus, like, what do you want me to say? Frankly, it's absurd. Yeah, so that's something. I think, is there anything else with that? I mean, I guess it's also that sort of thing where with curiosity, again, that's sort of the other point. Because obviously Cameron saw this game, was like, okay, it looks alright, but I'll give it a go. And he tried it, and he realised that they're communicating a language, which Colin foreshadowed as well. He went insane, which is why I think he was taking LSD instead of medication. And it seemed like that Cameron was extremely curious about the fact that they were communicating, so he also opened his mind to that. And what did we see? Well, he opened his mind too much and didn't stop when he should have. So basically, if it weren't for him being curious and actually just unplugging the game, he would have essentially done nothing. Humanity wouldn't have been fucked, he would have killed Lump. He wouldn't have even gotten to know the Frongs, and in fact, he could have just said, like, okay, the game is a risk to life. It could have been disposed of. Like, it does sort of make me worry about real life, because with the prevalence of AI, now who's out there making something like this right now? No doubt someone is. It's going to be some of the biggest fucking foreshadowing of existence, literally. Somehow it came from my mouth, with no one else like me. Yeah, it is extremely concerning. Anyway, let me check one more review before I play guitar. Let's see. Where the fuck is it gone? Close the page for some stupid reason. And when it showed the right thing, why is it loading? What is wrong with the internet today? Seeing a positive and seeing a negative. Oh, seeing an overwhelming negative. 3.3 out of 10? You kidding me? Spoiled me. I kind of saw it to be harsh. I really like the show, even if some episodes don't live up to the rest. This one really stands out, could be the worst episode of Black Mirror of all time. What? The episode was so dumb, I still can't believe it screened it. What? No one other words for this. I'm sorry for the actors who did a really sorry job of what they had. Again, what? What the fuck is this review on about? Jesus. He continues. Anyone who gave us more than a 6 has no clue how technology works. I have no problem with a lower imagination, as in most Black Mirror episodes. Not everything has to be 100% realistic. This episode is a constant stream of techno-babble of the worst kind. It tries to wake some childhood memories in you of a few old games, but they totally mess up the timeline with those games released. 5 minutes to look up the right dates. Could have corrected that, try it for yourself. Or why did he buy VR goggles when he explained he was giving them computing resources? Makes no sense. And that PS/2 port, oh yeah, that's what it's called, not USB, be put in the back of his head. I won't waste another minute thinking about that, how he drilled it into his head, and all in the idea of merging our consciousness with AI is older than the games they show us. And they added nothing to that to top it all off. They leave it open. Why this would be good for mankind. It's so funny. And you watch Hotel Review before that, which was also flawed, but they literally were scared to death of a plot hole in it. And in the following episode, nobody cared, if this makes sense at all. It's a bit to uncover in that. So the only point that's bad in this episode to me, I don't really care about the timeline, to be honest. Like Street Fighter 3, was it? Yeah, that probably came out after the 90s, but I don't remember what the date is in this, actually. That's the weird thing, I don't know what the actual release date is. They're using CRTs, so obviously early 2000s or late 90s. It's also on a computer with decent graphics, rendering. But yeah, so I don't know about the timeline thing. But the point about the computing power, I noticed this as well. Because if for some reason you brought a Switch 1, to increase the computing power for the froglets. And as we know with the Switch 1, as with most mobile devices, they do not have the processing power that a console has. Like, they were so fucking bad. Even then, not always the best thing. So I found that weird that he was basically getting this stuff. It could be that he's just not informed and stuff, but I don't know. It feels a bit odd to me. See, I do sort of agree with the processing power of things, but the VR goggles, believe it or not, they are strong. They are kind of powerful in some ways. Not the most powerful, but still, about the same as the Switch, to me anyway. What I know of their hardware. So that doesn't make much sense, not gonna lie. I don't know why he just didn't buy like PlayStation 1, PlayStation 2 and then PlayStation 3 and obviously 4 and 5 whenever this came out. It's 2025, so there'll be more. Yeah, that's the only part I can agree with, but the rest of it is like a techno-babble thing or what? Like, it's exploring a fucking concept that can even not happen today. Where we start to hook up technology with our minds and our consciousness, and there are already places experimenting with that. I remember years ago, like in 2015 or 2016 or so, there's talk about Elon Musk's Neuralink, which is terrifying, and I think they were literally experimenting on animals first, obviously. But I think they were trying to play like adverts or something, weren't they? Was that something they were doing, or was that something I made up? Both. But that's just bizarre, because it is something that people were trying to achieve for some stupid reason, and the problem with saying it's unrealistic is you clearly didn't understand the episode. The froglets were trying to understand, the frog even, were trying to understand that humans worked in a different way, and they're trying to understand everything. So basically, with the processing power, they were able to comprehend the human body and basically make a realistic simulation in a way that they can understand it and not kill people, but they can kill people as well. And that's the point of that PS port. That's the entire point of it. It's because of their processing power that they've basically mastered the human body and mind. And that's probably why they're able to make Cameron survive when others don't. And that's essentially it. Like, it's just kind of a no-brainer. As for the rest of the episodes, what is it? Don't really see anything else. No, like, the review is really uncalled for. It's so bad. It's obviously a review that didn't pay attention. I'm surprised that people are saying it's like half-baked, so what did I miss? Weird. I don't know. It's still a good episode to me. That's the thing, like, what is even its highest ranking episodes at this point? I can even see it. Like, ratings by episode, okay, here we go. So 9.1 is the highest, and that's season 2, episode 4. Is that the one I didn't like? Season 2. I'm pretty sure one of them liked it. Actually, I could just click on it. I'm an idiot. And there's also 8.7s and 8.6. White Christmas. Wait, what the hell is this one? Oh, I do not remember this for some reason. Did I even watch it? Hang on, what? Fuck. Let me see, is it in my notes? No. Oh, I've skipped an entire episode. What the fuck? That's weird. I'll keep that up because I didn't even know that. I have to insert that into episode 4. How did I miss that? It could be that I just clicked away from it or something and didn't realise, but some weird fucking things with these streaming services. they don't always accurately work. So that'll be left up. But yeah, to be honest, there's not many episodes above 8. That's the weird thing about Black Mirror. I don't know if people are just not understanding it, or they just see the dangers in it, or what. Like, it's entirely about a dystopian thing. But yeah, strange. Apparently the next 2 episodes in season 7 are good, so anyway, better move on. Talked long enough about this scary stuff. Hell from. So I've got a response to something really annoying. Because I do seem to get this every time I ask for feedback on my music. And it's very common for some reason, but I don't understand why. Because I'm doing the very thing that I've been advised to do countless times, and whatever I do, nobody seems to be happy with it. So I don't know, but this is a response to that. So to explain, let's have to start with the story. People are accusing me of being lazy of my EQ and mixing the music, and saying that they don't hear it, they can't see that I've done it, even though I very much have, and accusing me of just not caring. I'm not even wanted to make better music, which is completely false. And since then I've taken steps to actually add EQ. I remember the first thing I did, the first music feedback I ever got, was applying EQ to everything and cut off the high end and low end and the parts I don't need. Eventually I moved on, I got better VSTs and stuff and started applying more and being more aggressive with it, and I started to find a rhythm to it. But still, people complained, said that it wasn't a very good EQ, and there was even complaints about the mixing of all things. So I then had to address that, and I sort of did for a time until 2023. Eventually got more complaints, because even though I was doing the thing that they said and could very much prove it, they were now saying that I wasn't doing enough. So there I was again, sort of confused, and I left it for a while because what else am I supposed to do? There literally isn't much I can do with limited knowledge I have. So I ended up going again, basically. I this time looked up a tutorial on mixing and EQing for symphonic metal, and it kind of worked, but people aren't saying anything, so I believe I owe an explanation as to why this could be. Why it could be that I'm failing at this. When I was young, I got a diagnosis for global learning delays, and from what I could tell with what this is, it is how it sounds, meaning there's a learning delay. What people can realise in, say, 1 lesson or 5 lessons takes me a bit longer, because I need to either identify a pattern, identify something familiar, or just be able to connect the dots and take in the info more easily. And there's no right way to do it, there's no one size fits all. So I've always struggled with the learning process for everything, including music, believe it or not. So that really complicates things, because that means any way that I could have learned certain things means not learning it properly, not learning it the way it's intended. So yes, I'm not going to make music with the proper EQ or mixing. I'm not even bothered to learn how to EQ drums. I've seen videos, but I can't do it. It's too complicated for me. It's going to take a while before I even open a fucking EQ on the drum set itself. I've got MDL tones, drums are, I can't remember if it has a name. I think it's like perfect metal drums, I don't know. But I also have the perfect, superior drummer 3 set, and yeah, I can EQ things, but again, it's too complicated, it's way out of my range. So it's not a case of I'm being lazy. It's a case of I can't learn this because it's too complicated. So any sort of edits I could make are just not worth it in the end. There's simply too much to do in that area, so I don't have any chance at making it better. There's another problem that I noticed as well when making my original music. And this problem, I suppose I didn't notice before, but it very much is prevalent, but I seem to have a problem with the tones. Somehow the guitar tones I have are not working properly with my VSTs, even though they work fine in other ways. For some reason it's not working fine with these, and as a result I'm being creatively murdered basically. Because I can't find the right tone, I can't find something that works. I'm literally going to install Amplitude 5 tomorrow. I've actually installed it, but I'm going to try and use it to make something. I've also got Tone X, which for some reason isn't installing properly. Where's that gone? It says it's wrapping up, but I don't know what that fucking means. Yeah, I'm basically having to try these things, and this is all just to make things sound good, and that's like half of the problem with music anyway. Luckily to find a style with my symphonic metal music with metal covers, but my originals are struggling because of this, because I can't find a tone that works. Even though I like the auto audio amp, it doesn't seem to be doing its job for some reason here. So I have no idea what that's about. And other tones turn out fine, but this one for some reason, not really. I've tried EQing it doesn't work. I've tried EQing it the way others do it doesn't work. So I'm essentially stuck. I don't have any way to actually address it, and I'm very close to finishing the guitar solo on it. Which is kind of the weird thing. That solo's actually pretty damn good. I've got some really interesting parts in it. I'll talk about that briefly. I'll do it as if it's like a real guitar solo. I've been trying to do that for years, by the way. So people who complain about my solos, well, you know, I've tried to learn. And again, this is the same result, similar result for that matter, with everything else. But yeah, this one actually sounds pretty decent, in all honesty. I can't really complain about it much. Yeah, it sounds realistic, and I do like how each of them ends. They've got like a slide tone to the F note in this part, and it's in I don't know what key it's actually in. I'd say like F sharp maybe. Could be wrong with that. It's got a bunch of weird chord shapes and stuff, so it's hard to say. But then we've got the other lead sort of having this really interesting bending part, which sounds so fucking. I can't even describe the feeling I get when hearing it. It's like never heard anything like it. What's weird is I've heard so many different guitar solos in my time, and I haven't heard anything like this. I literally don't think it exists. That's the weird thing. It's literally just invented a technique. I don't know, I'd have to listen to it back to really understand it. It sort of sounds mysterious, I guess, the way to put it. But it's sort of leading the transition to the third part of the solo, which is the other interesting part of it. But anyway, yeah, I'm just stuck, really. Yeah, I'm trying, literally. But it's not working, and it also doesn't really help that I have such a small audience. I haven't talked about this much. As much as I don't mind having a smaller audience, it does make me worried because I am sort of wasting my time here. And at this point I do kind of want to move on and just focus on that original music. Because it seems like a waste of time making these covers, putting all the effort in, like rewriting parts and adding parts, which no other composer is doing, no other male cover musician is doing, as far as I know. Like, come on. Like, is there no reward for creativity here? That's one of the things that really disappoints me with just the viewerships and stuff. My most creative works just don't get the attention they deserve. It really sucks, and I just feel very demotivated because of it. On top of all this criticism about not doing the EQs and mixing properly, and also people keep saying to pay for it. Like, they're fucking kidding me. Like, how are they going to mix that? Seriously. It's symphonic fucking metal. They're going to ask for, like, a huge payout. So yeah, piss off with that. I'm fine, thanks. I'm literally doing fine. I'm following the levels and following the meter. So literally just leave me alone on that. Even then, like EQ, people will be asking me to pay for that, but no. Again, it's better that I learn for myself, get the experience, then figure out from there. Yeah, I don't know what else to again, I'm trying, I'm learning, but it's not coming through quick enough. So I don't know, I don't really have any more edits to put on my instrument templates. Like, what have I got? Basically, needs right pan to be Omni MIDI. Yeah, I keep forgetting to do that. Make off right shredded tracks of extra guitar. What the hell do I mean? Oh yeah, because there's a thing in shredded. You can pick chord guitars basically, but I don't do that because it seems really ineffective. Because I need the second rhythm guitar just to play the harmonies, and it's really stupid not to have that. Like, are you fucking kidding me? If I'm making metalcore riffs, how the hell am I supposed to harmonise that without a second VST? So it's kind of stupid and counterproductive. Yeah, anyway, I better move on. Just a frustrating situation to talk about. Why am I not surprised? Another day, another fucking genocide. So, just when we thought the things with Gaza were over and then they started again, we've got another problem in the world. There's another country being targeted called Sudan, and it's being targeted by someone called the RSF. I don't actually get what that is. It stands for Rapid Support Forces. Yeah, that sounds about right. Jesus Christ, like, this is just horrible. I don't know the full conversation of this, and to be honest, I don't want to at this point. I've seen enough. Simple as that. I'm not surprised anymore. I know what it's going to be about. It's going to be some fucking racism, some colonialism, whatever Israel's doing. They're copying basically. But as I said, the thing with Israel is this sets a bad example. So when we're looking at Israel and we see, oh, they've completely totaled Gaza, they've completely wiped out its fucking population, then other countries are going to look at that, like the RSF, who they belong to, and they're going to think, you know what, we can do this, we can get away with the same thing, because yeah, they literally can. That's the example the UN has set, the example the European Parliament has set, by not intervening, by not saying no. So again, I'm like face palming really fucking hard. And you know, people's lives are on the line here. At this point, it's like, I don't know, Germany walking into, or at least the fascist group in Germany walking into a neighbouring country. Let's see. Say France, for example. I think that's the closest one. Could be wrong. I do have a map behind me, but I can't read it from this far. Yeah, like, nobody would do anything. I guarantee you that. You know, despite the things happening with Russia, people are ignoring this fucking fact that the world is just in so much chaos at the moment. And it feels like it's only going to get worse. And, you know, it got me thinking about another topic recently, which I'll go into a bit after this. Again, I'm not surprised. Like, these genocides are just going to happen more and more now, because now with essentially the RSF being a second example of this, more are going to see that, and then they're going to do the same fucking thing. They're going to invade a country, going to set off bombs, kill people, shoot people. Like, so many different things. Apparently they're enslaving children as well, which is very fucking harrowing. But it's probably, ironically, because that's the thing I see, like, Muslim people and Arabian people accused of. It's just like, they're making child soldiers and stuff. But it's really fucking ironic that they're making child soldiers themselves, supposedly, with these child slaves. Not to mention, probably, sorry, not to mention they're probably doing malicious things with the children as well. Jesus Christ, it's the exact same as Israel. Although at least they're not fucking putting children into, at least to my knowledge. Young people, yeah, but not children, I don't think. So it's pretty fucking ironic, as I said. But even then, they're just going to be like decoys or something. Like, you've seen the shit that Israel does, the amount of cruelty they've done. Like, who's to say they're not going to strap the child with fucking explosives, not tell them what it is, and tell the child to walk into a crowd of Sudan people, or Sudanian, I don't know what the actual plural is. But Jesus, like, it's ironic how some of these places fueled by racism and Islamophobia become the terrorists. Like, they're accusing Islam of being terroristic, whilst they themselves are doing the terrorism. And I thought we lived in a world where we can have an adult conversation and actually live in peace and harmony. I know you've got complete idiots for all in these places, and they should be arrested, should be definitely interrogated. Like, you need to figure out what's going on. But as I said, this should have happened with Israel the moment the conflict with Palestine started. People have been saying it for years, and I unfortunately came to the game a bit too late. Not the game, but the conversation. And it's still scary to think about. Like, none of this would be happening if people had a fucking head on their heads to even talk about this sort of shit. Like, come on. It seriously makes no sense at this point. It's another example of where these countries are, I think, armed. Like, the RSF is obviously armed, otherwise they wouldn't be doing this, and Sudan would have fought back, probably. And we're seeing just how bad the situation is with how we're arming countries and stuff. And we're arming countries in a time where the Ukraine-Russia war seems to be at a standstill, at least to my knowledge anyway. Ukraine have been doing well, and Russia is protesting, which is good. At least the people are protesting, not the government, but the government's still a problem there. But still, Europe is going to war with NATO, and there's actually nothing that people are doing that is actually helping. These countries going to war with each other is not helping that situation. And I've even seen evidence that something like this, like Israel versus Palestine, and now RSF versus Sudan, and also Ukraine versus Russia, is all contributing to climate change, which is a global threat level. Like, I can't remember what it was actually. What is climate change global threat level at the moment? I forgot to Google it now. Let's see, climate reports from the UN. I'm not sure if I trust that, to be honest, because it doesn't seem they're acknowledging it. It's a government, no. Like, all of these seems to be government. Like, fuck off. The World Health Organization, maybe, but I don't know. Like, I seem to find out the level, the current levels of warming by the Met Office. Okay. I can't read that. It says global average temperature is spiking, sure. It's going up by like 0.2, no, 0.1 every year, I think. And 2025 is getting warmer. You notice like at the start of the war it seems, where is that? Does it say the date? Nope, it's annoying. There's a bad graph. But I guess then it's like the start of the Russia-Ukraine war. Yeah, obviously it's increased. Indicators of warming difference. It's just like a line for it. And current global surface warming. I don't know what that actually says. The point is though, if you find a measurement for the current threat level of global warming and climate change, it's going to be absolutely higher than it's supposed to be. Because of all these wars going on, because of all this shit, that doesn't need to happen. And because nobody's going in to stop that as well, it's just going to continue. It's just horrible, and imagine the sort of shit it releases into the atmosphere as well, and all the debris and what's probably asbestos as well, let's not forget that. Some places probably still use it. There's so much danger to this, and the pollution from the vehicles, the transport, no doubt the explosives as well, probably contribute to an extent. Yeah, to say this isn't a world in chaos is literally fucking delusional. At this point, I wouldn't be surprised to see a bunch more refugees, for example, just going to countries like the UK and maybe US, but probably not at the moment. But you'll see refugees everywhere, only because of this shit that's happening. Come on. And because of so many displaced people, that means that you have to accommodate the transportation and the resources for them as well. Where they're seemingly, well, not okay in the places they're living in, obviously, because it's either been ravaged by war or there's not enough access to food or water. Still, this only increases our demand, and we could have actually gone there, solved their problems, and addressed that, solve climate change essentially. But no, instead, well, I've got my drawing table out. Well, I just did that, that's weird. My god, what the fuck is just going on with this world today? Yeah, at least the US has some good news with the president, no? I think it's the mayor of New York, I think it is, I could be mistaken. Is it a mayor? I can't remember, but morons on Tiny. Sorry, I fucking butchered the name, but I think you know what I'm talking about. Yeah, he's been elected, which is definitely good. Definitely like a sort of mirror image of Zach, pretty much, Zach Flavouring here in the UK. So what's the other thing I was going to talk about? Money, that's it. So, that was a thing a few years ago that I was really afraid to talk about, and it's just because it's so powerful of a topic that it could probably sow the world into more chaos, but now it's been brought up, I kind of feel like I have to talk about it, because somebody else has realised it. From, I think as early as 17 or 18, I've realised that money in itself, and when I've begun to really think about this, is really useless, when you really think about it. Because whilst it does obviously pay for things, it gets you products in return, it gives you this way to trade essentially. It isn't actually the right way to do things, because as we're seeing currently, money is the thing that controls everything. And it simply doesn't have to be that way. And that's kind of the problem that we've built for ourselves with the hierarchy and stuff, and our politics in general. Because money controls so much of the narrative that it's become destructive. But if I tell everyone that there's a way that you can not only not have to worry about money ever again, but get everything you want, then you call me crazy, but there is actually a way. And if we stop paying for things, and we stop enabling money in general, then we can live in a world that's probably happier and better for it. Because we're suddenly not controlled by money, instead it's controlled by trade. So, let's say, I produce artwork or something. Okay, I could trade some artwork for the same sort of quality, I guess, or amount of time it takes to produce, say, Nintendo Switch 2. Right, no problem. But that's sort of the thing, like, you help out your community and you can even get things for free if you help out. That should be the trade deal. But instead today we're confined to this money, which ironically is like a game in a sense, because it's like microtransactions. People getting paid to play, and that's wrong in a few different ways. Because it's not the type of pay that you necessarily need. You need the money to pay for goods and services, but instead you're not playing to get paid. So it's like, wait, so I get that mixed up. I get distracted again. Fuck's sake, ADHD. Yeah, there's like no way you can seriously think you can get paid properly in today's world. So, in an ideal world, you'd literally be paying with your own labour, and that should be the way it goes. I think there should be some sort of, rather than a currency, a sort of universal checker kind of thing, signed by, say, your boss. I don't know if that's actually possible now, but is that some way you can contact people and say, like, yeah, this person did X amount of labour today, they're entitled to Y amount of things, and they get these sort of, I guess, tokens, like pseudo money or something. But there's some way to figure it out. Well, I'm not sure exactly what it is, but essentially you don't have to be paid and even restricted to money. In some of the underdeveloped countries, I'm pretty sure that where they don't have money, even in tribes and stuff, they do the same thing. They pay with labour or word of mouth. Like, there's different ways around it, and especially if you get to know your community as well, it just gets easier from there because you sort of know. Like, you get a regular who's like paying for what, rice, lentils or something. It's like, yeah, we know you do your work and stuff. And there's a amount of trust there, so that I'm pretty sure helps. Because everything's so confined to money, you not only see an increase in crime, you see an increase in apathy. And that's the dangerous thing I realised years ago. Money really is useless. And I'm surprised by how little people know of it. Yeah, it's quite a heavy topic given everything that's going on as well, which is why it's sort of related. No doubt places like the RSF are buying weapons, Israel are buying weapons because of that, because money's at stake for some stupid reason. That's why they're genociding people. That's why it's being allowed. And what do I say about money? It's useless. Because as we can see, it causes destruction. It causes some unnecessary things that we honestly shouldn't have been seeing in this day and age. Again, like a genocide. So I don't really know what else to add to this, to be honest. I can't really add anything else at this point, and I'm still waiting for Final Fantasy 14 to finish its maintenance so I can cheer myself up. But yeah, one of the sad worlds to live in at the moment. Yeah, just people getting away with things that they shouldn't be getting away with. People allowed to commit atrocities. There's so much fucking wrong here. So wrong. I better move on, so yeah. I just recently I'm watching it at the moment actually, but it's probably not the full story, but I'm watching the Vara Media covering the Aston Villa vs Maccabi Tel Aviv game, and it's definitely concerning, the fact that you have this pro-Israeli crowd who are obviously pro-Israeli, but they're completely ignoring the very fact that Israel are essentially killing innocent people. And they don't want to admit that that's what's happening. Then the interviewer bravely brought up that basically it's international law that Palestine is a state, and the West Bank even, I think, and that Israel can't actually invade it or take it over. But there's also something brought up about, also the guy just completely denies it being international law, but anyway. The interviewer brings up about the child killings, and immediately the guy's like snapping back saying, why are we just throwing around the word child killings? Jesus fucking Christ. Well, if this is the right best person, then what the fuck is going on there? Seriously, that is just a whole new level of ignorance and apathy. It's fucking stupid. It seriously makes no sense. Jesus, yeah, he also calls it left-wing politics, so which is also pretty stupid. So I don't know. It is pretty concerning though. And to explain the point though and address it, like why are we throwing around the term child killers for a country that is killing children? I just answered it. It's because they are killing children. You don't need to look far to find the graphic media of this happening. Both of it happening live, supposedly, and from the aftermath. Seriously, you don't need to look far. And you only need to look at the destruction of buildings to see how bad it's gotten. Like, imagine how many people there who have been hit by drones have died. This includes families. It includes so many different types of people. It's probably even people who aren't even from Palestine or even other surrounding countries. Like, it's probably English people, it's probably people from Europe. Like, there's so many different types of people who could be living there. So, yeah, Israel are killing children. That's just a matter of the facts. It's actually what's happening. And people are not throwing it around as like a thing that's shock value. They're throwing it around because it is literally what's happening, and people need to be aware of it. The fact this is even allowed in modern society, where we should supposedly be talking to each other, is absurd. This really should not be happening. And yet, it's happening because countries have let Israel get away with it. So it can essentially be normalised because Israel are leading the example here. And because of that, it can happen to your country too. Just keep that in mind. Just because it only affects a smaller, and probably, let's be honest, it's more insignificant country, it doesn't mean it's not wrong. It means it's wrong entirely. And it can happen to a big country like it's happening to Russia versus Ukraine. The only difference is I don't think Russia picks on civilians. They're just trying to keep their territory safe. So, no matter which way you look at it, it's always the people who pick on the innocent who are the bad people. And that's why people condemn Israel and bring up the child killings. Because that is just objectively a bad thing. So fucking absurd. Jesus. Seriously, don't understand why that needs to be explained. It's like one of the most simple sort of discussions you can have about this. Yeah, people grasping it. What the fuck is our education system doing, and what are parents doing even? How do you bring your kid up thinking that it's normal to kill children? Like, what the fuck is wrong with you? It's just absolutely hellish. I don't know. I better move on. I've said a lot. Well, season 2, episode 4. Finally found it. Finally watched it. Jesus Christ, that is the most brutal episode, I think, because it's not what you think it is. That's the weird thing. It's got plenty of twists. It's got great acting as well, and also good music choice. I really miss that song on the radio. Wish it could be Christmas every day, but now I've heard it here. Kind of don't want to hear it. Just remind me of this episode. Like, Jesus Christ, literal big foreshadowing. It's honestly, it's so brutal. Like, literally, I think in terms of psychological horror, this probably takes the cake for one of the most terrifying. And I've seen a lot of psychological horror-related stuff. I think of like Hunter x Hunter's Chimera and Antark, the other episodes in this series that was deemed pretty much a psychological horror. Yeah. But what a terrifying concept. Holy shit. It's kind of hard to explain the story because it starts with this guy waking up in this place and he doesn't know why he's there, which I immediately thought, okay, this probably isn't real then. And yeah, it turns out that's right, so I'll say spoilers. But there's more to it than that. And there's this guy there, I have to look at the IMDb actually. I've got to try and remember character names more. S2E4. No, just IMDb. Yeah, so you got John? Wait, was that his name? Hang on. Yeah. Okay, John. No, that's the actor. Duh. Fucking hell. Okay, so you got Matt and Potter, and I might get these mixed up by accident. They do look really similar. That's strange. It's kind of hard to distinguish them, so I'm not actually sure who's who, which is a bit frustrating. Yeah, so yeah, it starts out with this thing that people don't know why they're there, but they're saying they're serving a sentence or something, so it's like a prison, but they're saying it's not like a prison. It's just weird. It's definitely an interesting concept though, that's for sure. So you don't really know what they're doing there to begin with, and they're just celebrating Christmas by the looks of it. They've got, I don't want to fuck up the names, that's the problem. Getting mixed up. So, I think... Oh, this is the character page, okay, yes, that's helpful. Thank you, IMDb. You've actually thought of this. That's handy. So it starts with, I believe it's Matt Trent's story. And he's basically a wingman for this guy through this like iDevice, and he's streaming it to some people online. And yeah, because of this device, it essentially fucks people up because it's so screwed up that you can see through other people's eyes. And obviously it's an issue, but you can also communicate, which is where the other problem comes in. It's basically being a wingman for this guy who's trying to pick up a date at Christmas, which is an important theme here, it seems. And he's struggling, but he's basically Matt is trying to help him through this. He gives him advice, and it turns out later on there is a actual crowd of people in this like call who's actually watching this with him and making fun of him. So like doing this sort of really fucked up sort of gang operation shit almost. Anyway, it sort of goes from one thing to another. He picks up a date. This guy he's leading. I'm pretty sure, yeah. Is he listed here? I think he's called Harry. Must be. But anyway, he's leading Harry to find this date, and yeah, he finds the date, but he gets caught talking to himself. So the woman's a bit like, oh, this ain't good, and then this woman, for some reason, decides to invite him to his room, and these voices are talking to him. Invite him to her room, I mean. And so he goes along with it, thinking that Matt's thinking actually and saying to him, This might be the chance to see some tits or something. So just doing this to make fun of oh, what's his name? I forgot again. Harry. So that's happening, but as soon as the woman comes into the room, I think her name is Greta. Yeah, her name is Greta. And when she's in there, was it Greta or is it Jennifer? Oh god, I better click on the name again. Greta. No, not Greta. My bad, that's the second story. It's got you mixed up though. So it's Jennifer. Jennifer's the name. So Jennifer's just bringing in some drinks, and it seems to be like some alcoholic thing with some blue at the bottom, which I suspect is bleach. And then she basically gives him the drink, and she has one herself, and essentially forces it on him. So he's forced to drink it, and he's suddenly feeling the effects of it, like he's been poisoned or something. And he's like choking, and then blood comes up. And she's basically talking to the people who are basically hijacking his eyes, because that's the technology thing here. And they basically watch as he's been killed, and Matt's kind of panicking, thinking, oh god, we just witnessed a murder. And she literally tried to kill the feet just by killing him. So that's pretty dark. So yeah, that happens. Bit awkward though. Yeah, so don't really see anything from that after. Matt's still forced to explain something to Potter, who's the guy living who's confused why he's woken up here. And basically they try to make a conversation, because obviously they're celebrating Christmas in this place. And yeah, they're trying to get Potter to talk, basically. But it isn't really that obvious at first. So he's trying to get that to happen. What's the next thing? Matt has to say another story, that's what happened. And he basically extracts someone's mind into this like little simulation device thing. And the woman's called Greta, but basically it creates a copy of Greta, and she's able to carry out the tasks that she would, but basically remotely as her own consciousness, and her real self gets to do everything she wants to, and she doesn't have to worry about making coffee or making like toast, because she wants that done a specific way. Like nothing to worry about. But her consciousness is being tortured basically because of this. Her copy, that is. So it's basically, as a Potter put it after the story, it's basically slavery. And the Matt says that he's a good man for recognising that, which is an interesting detail. So I wouldn't have expected that. So yeah. But nothing really happens in that. Like, that's just the end of the story, I think, after they see that there's a routine that the copy of Greta is following. So nothing really happens there. Then after that, Matt tries to push Potter to basically confess about what he's done to end up in this place. Where things get real interesting. Because it actually has something to do with the eye thing again. So he's hanging out with his girlfriend, and there's some I forgot to say, Matt's really trying to push the confession, and he's trying to probe it as well, like saying, is it to do with a girlfriend or a child or something, which is really good foreshadowing, by the way. I didn't even notice that. Yeah, so he's doing that, and finally Potter begins to explain what's going on there. So yeah, he's explaining he has a girlfriend, he sat with her a few times, went to a bar with a bunch of friends and had dinner as well, I think, and sort of end up having a one night stand again, which is interesting. I don't know why though. It's a bit odd, but then he goes through the trash for some reason, or it falls out even. Although it's like a bunch of trash there, and there's like a pregnancy test, like in the fucking trash can inside a tin can. Like, it's so weird. But it says she's pregnant, and he thinks it is her. So he goes to confront her about it, and she's like, she's not sure what to say because she doesn't want to confess about it, obviously. But Potter's like, what is it? Oz like, why don't I get a choice in this? And then he realises, wait, you were drinking the night before. So he sort of felt really angry about that, obviously, as anyone would, for drinking whilst pregnant. Jesus Christ. That is sad, but just destructive as well. Well, nobody's saying that. But he has an argument, and eventually, wait, it's not Greta, is it? No, the girlfriend's called Beth. Anyway, Beth basically blocks him in this eye thing that they have, and basically they can't see or hear each other now, because that's what the blocking thing does. They can hear, but not the conversation, like not the words they say, it's just muted basically, or not muted, but muffled. So this leaves Potter with a very uncertain sort of feeling, because he could be the father of this child, yeah, as you might actually think, especially in a pregnancy test. And yeah, he basically stalks her, trying to figure out like why the hell she blocked him and why can't he communicate about their child. And she's still avoiding him. She even left her workplace to avoid him. But he stalks her for years and finds out that she had the baby eventually, and he couldn't see the baby because it's also blocking for the baby. Like, they have this thing called the cookie, I should say, I forgot to mention that. But the cookie is allowing them to block anything really, and that's causing problems, because now Potter can't see his child, like, at all. It's not only completely blocked, but completely just shut out from seeing, like, anything. Just like, it's so restrictive. And he was already arrested for stalking, I forgot to mention that, but he was seemingly let off for that, and yeah, like, fair enough, he should have been arrested. Like, I don't think anybody would disagree with that, but at the same time the girlfriend should have unblocked. So Bethany was a bad person as well. Like, it sort of goes without saying, to be honest. Like, yeah, she has the choice to keep the child, but it's also up to the consenting partner as well. And it's kind of where it gets complicated, I suppose. But there's actually a reason why she didn't tell him about this. So as time goes on, he stalks her for over 4 years and finds out the child is growing up, and then finds out that the child is a girl. And he didn't know that because obviously she had been blocked. Like, can't see her, can't hear her. And he's like shocked by that, but he goes home, I don't know if it's still Christmas, but finds out that there's a train crash, I think it was, if I'm not mistaken, and a bunch of people have been killed. Turns out Bethany had been killed. And obviously he was brought to tears by that, because it's like, okay, this sucks. Like, supposedly his ex-girlfriend killed, and yeah, it's still pretty sad though. So eventually he goes, because the block is basically off now, and it does block pictures. That's the interesting thing. So the fact it unblocks the picture on the TV is actually a really good detail. I really like that. But he goes to see his child finally, because the block is off, and it would have probably worked for the child as well. And he finds out that the child is living there with Bethany's dad, I think it was, maybe granddad, I can't remember actually. But they were living together, by the way. I forgot to mention that bit as well, because it's kind of an important plot point. Plop. Okay, I don't know why that came to mind, but sure, let's go with it. So, plop. Yeah, so he goes to that house and finds the child, and the child turns around. She is not English. She's seemingly Asian. Whoops. I guess that's why he was blocked. Yeah, so extremely dark, to be honest. Like, the fact she kept that hidden from him and didn't say, like, it's not your child. I'm sorry. That's just like, oh my god, it's like double devastating. It's so fucking sad. Yeah. The pain that Potter felt obviously was quite strong in that moment. But he decided to follow the child in and confront the grandfather about this, because he was unsure what the hell was going on. He even began to think that this wasn't his actual child. It wasn't Bethany's child, for that matter. And he asked to see his daughter, and obviously the granddad was saying, like, I think he's saying no, was he? But he's also holding a knife, which is interesting. But he asked the daughter to go upstairs, and yeah, eventually Potter sort of confronts the grandfather and hits him with a snow globe over the head after he just didn't answer. But also he had blocked the letters that Potter had sent. So again, a lot of stalking. It's also not going to be seemingly killed the grandfather. And there's an interesting detail, I forgot about that, like halfway through the episode. There's a clock in this place where Matt and Potter are, and it has birds on it. And as Potter's in this place, this grandfather's place, he sees the same clock, the bird clock, and that makes him a bit sort of panicky. Yeah, so it's not a pleasant situation at all, as I said. So eventually he sort of flees, I think, and ends up on the street or something, but then he comes back or something. I was a bit confused about what happened there. That was the only part of the episode I didn't understand. Or did he stay there for a bit after leaving, like stay outside? Because he apparently saw the child leaving to get help, and she died in a snowstorm, by the looks of it. Died of hypothermia, which is a bit scary. Like, what? So basically he murdered her. Didn't get any help for anyone. It's kind of like, okay, this is all pretty fucked. So he seemingly murdered also the grandfather and the child. Yeah, so he's not a good guy at that point. So stalking wasn't bad enough. Neither is Matt, and eventually you sort of come out there, he's crying, he's trembling and stuff in front of Matt. And Matt is basically trying to get him to confess, like, to doing all this, and eventually, because I already knew this was what was going to happen when Matt began pushing him, yeah, Potter eventually confesses to basically hitting the granddad, stalking and stuff, and eventually killing the child because of the inaction. And well, I think it was inaction. Like, actually, it could maybe not be a snowstorm. It could just be like killing her on the open. I'm not sure. Bit confused about that. Again, the timeline's weird because he appeared in the street in his own story. Anyway, but Potter says, like, that's a rat, people. Like, yep, I already knew. But it wasn't actually like a confession booth, which was the surprising part for me. And Potter's confused. He turns around and he's gone. Matt's gone, just disappeared after he said that. And the snow globe they also hit the granddad with is there. But we go into the real world now, where Matt is coming out of this fucking simulation thing, this thing that he put his head in, and is basically seeing, he's in the police station where he's doing this, and he looks around at the police officers and says he's got the confession. Yeah, he's proved it, and there you can see that he's got his simulation stuff, like the thing that he literally said in the story, which is just, what? Fucking mind-blowing. Absolutely crazy. And they agree they got the confession from Potter. So the police officer goes to Potter's jail cell, the real Potter, because this turns out to be a copy in the story, and tells him that the confession is out and he can't stay quiet anymore. So yeah, extremely fucking creepy, as I keep saying. So eventually the police officer comes back, so she's quite a bitch, to be honest. And no mercy at all. Yeah, she torments Potter a bit. But then she goes back to where Matt is, and Matt is asking about his sentence because he's been convicted, which is why they're using the technology to get someone else to confess. And they talk about their convictions that he has now. Like, I think there was like sexual assault. It's one of them. And obviously, I think the things that he confessed to in there probably on the things, or a few of the things actually that he did, which are not good. And that's seemingly was it. But this is where the even scarier thing comes in, the real torture. So he's let free, but he has these convictions. And what happens with these convictions is their cookies basically now auto-block him, and he's now coloured in red to the outside world because he is a convicted criminal. And this means that people who see him as he is blocked essentially can see that he's a criminal. Like, what the fuck? Like, it's probably better to be put in a prison cell at that point. Like, imagine people avoiding you or annoying you on purpose because you're coloured red in their blocking thing because of a conviction. That's literal torture, the fact you can't see anyone, you can't see or hear anything from anyone. Like, there's just a death sentence at the end of the day. So there's nothing there for you in the outside world. Like, that shows the problem. Like, weirdly enough, I talked about this with something similar, like seeing through people's eyes, but like dreaming and stuff. Like I said this episode earlier, I think. It's just weird. How coincidental was that? And yeah, the police exploiting it as well. Like, what the fuck? That's absolutely blown my mind. That's crazy. It's not the same idea, but still similar. This is definitely parallels. But yeah, that's a terrible punishment, but it doesn't end there. Because they're deciding what to do with the copy of Potter, and they decide to give him 1,000 years of torment. So, like, Jesus fucking Christ. Yeah, it's extremely dark, and the police officer says, like, it's Christmas, put it up to 1,000. Oh, yeah, that is terrifying. You know, this is why you don't play with God, essentially. Like, you're not supposed to see into other people's eyes. You can think what you might think about them, like in their situation. You know, there's definitely a bit of sympathy for someone like Potter, who was blocked for no reason, not told the truth. That's the only part, though. I can't sympathise for anything else. But someone like Matt, I don't know. Like, I think he should have gotten the worst punishment, in all honesty. And he's definitely involved in a murder. He definitely caused people to suffer, especially with the copies. And yeah, the police are using that tech to do it. I don't know if he created it, maybe. There's probably maybe one of the bits of it that's not explained. But still, you know, if he did that, yeah, he deserves the worst punishment. And honestly, I think that is actually kind of the worst punishment. Just not see or hear anyone. But yeah, again, there's that proof of you maybe don't want to touch this part of a human because it will just turn people insane. Yeah, especially with like the what's dedicated stalking. Like, that's what seeing for other people's eyes are. It's also like hijacking their minds and giving them instructions. Like, it's so fucking dark. And yeah, the other thing is just how they think they should deal with the punishments. Dedicate's not up to the piece, and that's one of the other big plot holes in this. That should be up to the judge, technically speaking. other than the police officers. Either way, it's a very good episode. I think. Would I consider it the best one? I think I would, to be honest. It has enough plot twists, it has enough surprising moments. It definitely has a very deep story, and dark one at that, and a pretty brutal ending. That's just crazy. Yeah, I do recommend the episode, obviously. It just depends on where you can find it, if you can find it for that matter. Yeah, so it's a strong recommendation from me. It's no surprise that it's got the highest rating of all the episodes. Yeah. But I'm going to do the outro because this has gone on for a while, and I imagine I'm going to put in like a. What am I saying? Well, no, I'm probably going to put in all the clips, that's what I'm saying here. Yeah, thanks for listening. See you one tomorrow. No, I'm just kidding, there's no tomorrow. Ever.